On this week's episode of the K12 Tech Talk podcast, we talk about a recent survey that shows how vendors can hurt or help relations with a district after an RFP. Then we dive into some states and companies who are pushing out AI and feeling some resistance. Thanks for listening.
Live from the NTP studios, this is the K12 Tech Talk podcast. This is episode 276. My name is Josh, here in mid-Missouri. Chris is... Well, it's pouring rain again today. Chris is down the river from me. Hello, Chris.
Yep, what's up?
And Mark is over on the East Coast, high and dry. But he went fishing this weekend. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
He looks tan.
His room looks darker. I commented when he joined, the room looks darker. Mark, you were at Fenway this weekend for the Fish concert.
2 nights. Yeah, 2 nights of Fish.
And?
It was a blast. I took a local superintendent. He just got a job as a superintendent. I said, hey, for your present, I'm taking you to your first Fish concert.
Nice.
I think it might have been his last.
Josh, you like Fish too. PH, Fish?
Yeah.
We met a listener down in Georgia who also is a big Fish fan, and we traded stories. So
we were talking pre-show about how the last probably month, well, since school got out, or spring, summer, the phishing rate with compromised email accounts has gotten just out of hand where we are. I assume this is a trend across the country, but Chris, I don't know how often you're seeing it, but I would say every day we see 3, 4, 5 compromised accounts sending emails out.
Yeah, and I just want to listen to music, man. Fish.
No, Mark, don't laugh. Mark, don't encourage him.
It's a tongue tie.
It was a great
tongue.
joke.
No, it's not a tongue tie.
No,
What's
it's
that?
not a tongue twister. That's a really bad joke, is what that was, Chris.
It's a dad joke.
Yeah. Okay.
Fish. We love fish. We hate fish.
Yep. All of
whatever.
it. Whatever.
Hey, you know what else we love? Teachers coming back before it's time to come back.
While the wax is still wet. It's funny. We were walking down a hallway today, and I was looking at the floor, and I could see tread prints from somebody's shoe. Like somebody walked on, like, straight down the middle of this hallway while the wax was just wet enough to take their foot imprint.
How many times have you guys done that before where you were the one that did the step in?
I did it once, and since then I will, if I even think they're in the area waxing floors, I'll touch the floor with my hand to see if it's tacky before I step on it.
Mark, what about you?
Our custodians would set the security alarm to make sure that nobody walked on their floors. So have not done that.
I know I did it a couple of times. There was one time that was like bad. Like and I don't do this anymore, but I was wearing flip-flops at work. Great for summer vibes. And I stepped in wet wax with flip-flop. So I just it's like a surfboard. Like I went surfing.
I bet.
And then I took off running. I was young at the time, like, I wasn't like discerning the proper way to respond to the situation. And I just took off running. I didn't tell anybody. And then later I ended up confessing, like a week later after they buffed it out.
Yeah, they take that stuff serious, man. Yeah.
But enough about us. We love those teachers coming back. We're excited that they come back so early.
Do you guys shut off badge access so they can't come in? We turn off their badge access to the buildings, or they can't come in the building. They can't get in the buildings.
Yeah, same.
Ours are just told that they shouldn't come back, but here they are.
No, we have badge access off from like the last day of school until when they're allowed back in the building.
It's a good idea.
It's fine as long as your district has badge access on all your doors. There's a number of districts that can't afford that, and they still operate off keys.
Love back to school time. Let's talk about that more a little bit later, I think. But first, I should hit a sponsor. I'm sorry. I know. I was riled up about the teachers. Anyway, check out VIZOR. VIZOR.com/K12 Tech Talk. School's back. Devices rolling out. If you have new devices and you're starting to get, flashbacks about what this school year is going to be like because of all your previous school districts, VIZOR can be the tool that can make this school year easier for you. VIZOR is an IT asset management solution for schools. So check out VIZOR.cloud/K12TechTalk. That's VIZOR.cloud/K12TechTalk. You can get a discount if you go that way, and some free podcast swag as well.
All right, let's start out in New Mexico. The Department of Education in New Mexico has been mandated an application called Amira, which is an AI-based reading software. The students will read into this application, and it will help them analyze their speech and their reading, and then kind of give some early diagnostics to the teacher as well as to the state. Well, the state, this is probably the first example of a state mandating an AI-based product. This is, again, lower grade levels because it's a reading literacy application. So already they haven't even started back up again, and some schools are concerned. Santa Fe Public Schools, as well as Los Alamos Public Schools, have paused this state-required use of Amira, citing some concerns around privacy. The largest district in there, Albuquerque, has said they're going to continue with it, but these other districts have said, no, we're going to switch back to iReady for diagnostics until we can figure out this privacy concern with it. Are you guys seeing in your states state-mandated AI applications?
No, we hate data centers here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I don't know that this messes with privacy as much as other things with AI do for me.
Yeah, I think they're starting the conversation on the umbrella of privacy, but with parents being very concerned about the usage of AI, especially at the lower grade levels, it was very surprising to me to see a state push that kind of application out to all districts.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, I guess the conversation could be around who technically signed the agreement and who is it protecting privacy wise, because if the district didn't sign the agreement, if it's between the state and the vendor, I could see there being a little bit of a privacy conversation there, but
yeah. So districts are concerned about biometric voice recordings contained in the application. They're concerned about student data privacy. And given that this is an AI-based program, I think there's reason for districts to be pausing on this one for the time being. We'll see what happens. Again, just 2 districts so far. I would not be surprised if more districts follow suit in the coming weeks.
Well, and those are some of the larger districts in the state too. So, when the big boys do it, people are going to follow.
Yeah. Several other states are using Amira. Idaho, Georgia, California, Massachusetts, Michigan, Oklahoma, and Texas have all used it in some capacities. I believe that New Mexico is the only one that I could find that is actually mandating its use for schools, though.
Chris, I can't think of anything Missouri has bought and mandated. Can you? I mean, they bought a piece of Raptor for school districts a while back, but
we've more rallied the troops to say, heck no, get out of here. Like the years ago, our state considered a statewide SIS. We said, unless you're paying for it, and then that went away.
Right.
So then they have like a recommended SIS. Missouri has typically not mandated anything. That wouldn't be that much different in like our state assessment. The kids are required to type an essay or do a thing or fill in the blanks. That's just our state saying, well, you're also going to record your voice to prove your reading level. I'm trying to think, like when I was in elementary school, I had to take speech. I don't know. So what if my voice gets recorded and it says Chris has a stutter and can't say the word brick? Did I say it right? Because that was my struggle in elementary school.
Oh, you did a great job.
Really? The word brick?
Yeah, I couldn't get those K's out, man. Couldn't get those K's. But again, it's just voice. But I get to, Mark, there was a note there about, are those voices going to be used for commercial training and different things later?
Speaking of rolling out AI to districts and students, Google has announced that on August 10th, that's in a couple of days from now, they are going to be turning on a new tab for all students called the Gemini in Google Classroom tab. Very similar to what teachers have, that will now be available for students. Now, this is going to be a default on. So one of the reasons why I wanted to stress this is if you are hearing this for the first time, you need to go into your admin console, you need to look for the Learn with Gemini tab, and you need to turn this one off if you are not ready for it, because it will be turned on for all tiers.
Have we learned nothing?
Nothing.
Probably going to get disinvited.
Mark, do not edit out that silence. This is how we feel. this last year, I run committee. We approve our apps now. We approve our websites now. We're getting all our crap together because we want to have the highest quality content that we've trained up our teachers on, that all of our people know about. We want the student to be ahead of the game on what we're introducing as tools. And then Google keeps throwing stuff at us. And then you think about all the small schools that have like the one-person tech department or no tech department at all, and the default setting is on. The schools that don't even know how to get into their Google admin console, it's just on.
Well, I should clarify, this isn't just wide open Gemini. This is called Learn with Gemini, where you could hover over your homework assignment and say, generate a study guide, give me a practice quiz or flashcards. So it's a little bit more controlled. It's obviously designed for students, and this is going from K to higher ed.
Let's give it to a kindergartner. Yeah.
But again, something you want districts to have some kind of control over before you turn it on.
Yeah, I love it when a major corporation makes a decision for my kindergarten student.
Hey, I wonder if this is going to go better than Gemini and Google Earth. That was a fascinating...
Oh, man. That lasted less than 24 hours.
Yeah, if you were not familiar.
I didn't even get to like experience it. Like you guys talked about it, and when I went to check it out, it was gone.
If you're not familiar, Gemini was rolled out to Google Earth and then allowed somebody to hover over a specific location and then modify the satellite imagery. So it didn't take long for people to realize they could make hospitals and bomb sites or bomb craters in war zones. And there were images of people making large crowds of people at borders of the United States. So it was obviously misused pretty quickly, and it was taken away within 24 hours.
And I honestly think that circles back to the Gemini stuff that we're talking about.
100%.
If schools want to go first, schools want to go first and pave the way and do the new feature. But we typically know with technology that when the first big thing comes out, it does get abused. But there are people that lead the way in that, and I'm all about those people. But I do love Google, and I do love Google's new stuff that comes, but I usually love it after it's been out for a hot minute, and I usually don't want to be first. So I think I think our biggest thing is just, why is it default on? It should be default off, and then communicate well on what this thing is, and what the impact's going to be, and let people decide what they're going to do with it for their school districts. Not Chris, default on.
You love Google so much. You just had your Google tattoo touched up.
Google.
Yeah.
2 tattoos. You can push them together, though.
Don't ask.
Let's move this one away.
Instead, you have to push them together now. They just don't sit there together.
Anyways, there's more news.
No, Mark, don't delete that, Mark.
He marked it.
I know he did.
All right, moving on. EdWeek has an interesting article this week. I have a feeling this article was really directed at vendors and partners, but this is an interesting conversation for me. So this is all about post-RFP outreach. EdWeek has done some surveys of school districts as well as partners to find out what's the perception that you have if a vendor reaches out to you after losing an RFP. So about 80% of the districts, though, did find that there are some behaviors that cause them to hurt a relationship with a vendor. The number one being that the vendor has contacted a relevant administrator who isn't the purchasing director, kind of going around the purchasing process. About 40% of districts say that that's one of the number one reasons why, or that's one of the reasons why this relationship has been hurt so much. 36% of districts saying requesting a long, drawn-out meeting. And 35%, which I've had a lot of experience with this one, filing a records request for their bid evaluation. That was very common for me. I think that's very common for a lot of the larger districts as well, where every time you do a bid, you're going to get a records request for all the bid documentation and all the responses. So, gentlemen, in your experience, after you've done an RFP, what are some of the good behaviors you've seen from, I don't want to use the word losing vendors, but the folks that didn't make it through the RFP, and what are some of those bad behaviors you've experienced?
The losers, you can say it. Chris, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we run in a lot of the same circles, and I think the mentality is pretty similar among districts when it comes to this. I think if a vendor has done their homework and has created that relationship and they lose the bid, the best course of action after that, if they really want to know why or want to see the price matrix or grading matrix, just send an email or make a phone call and say, hey, would you mind sending over the scale and the grades?
Mhm.
You know, like don't come at me with a FOIA request out of the blue saying, like, that's not underhanded. I understand that it's, you know, you need to do it, but give me a call. Like, all you got to do is call or email and say, hey, can you send me the numbers? And that'll be a much easier conversation than slapping the records request lady at your district with a request for information. That just sets people off.
Yeah, I would say I'm always happy or okay, whatever that great word is, with the ask of, hey, where do we fall short? And I can be pretty copy paste about what the answer is, if it was the money or, you know, again, whatever that rubric looks like. The FOIA stuff, completely legit. You can do it. Like Josh said, there's the more cordial thing of, like, if you want to know, like, you can, I think there's an easy, natural thing of, if you really want to know and you're trying to build a relationship, do the phone call, do the email.
100%.
Don't go straight to the FOIA request. You can still do that. Like you said, Mark, that's part of the natural thing up Massachusetts way, maybe. But don't forget that you're also trying to build a relationship for when this thing comes up again. And I've had that in the past, where some of those, what you talked about, like the risky behaviors, where, yeah, I would agree with what those stats are sometimes. I sometimes give kudos to the ones that just think they're going to call and get a meeting, and they just completely keep calling and keep asking for meetings. And I always say, like, hey, can you just send me a white paper or whatever? And if I'm interested, I'm going to reach out to you.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
So I would flag that a little bit. If you think that you can just call and talk to me and, like, I'm just going to give you a 30-minute meeting just because you ask, and you're not giving me any kind of background, not even looking for what you're selling, that's risky.
Well, and I think that speaks to why we started Mo Tech Talk, Midwest Tech Talk the way we did, is the vendors that are there are brought there by other districts that have experience with them. It's not just any vendor can fill out a vendor form and go. We wanted those vendors that people have experience with and can speak on their behalf. You know, it's that rando phone call, one, rarely gets answered in my office, and heaven forbid you call my cell phone.
Now, I despise contacting a relevant administrator who is not the purchasing officer. 100%. I despise, hey, I'm going to talk to teacher who's going to get me the principal, who's going to get me in this way.
And I'm going to bring crumble cookies.
Yeah. Hate that junk.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, that get that trash out of here.
Yep. And don't call my cell phone either.
I got used to the RFP just because, like, when we're doing E-rate bids, you knew that these are large bids. They were always encompassing of network equipment and things that have, you know, standard pricing. So you could tell that vendors were just trying to get pricing for their competitors. Like I said, please just ask me for this information. When you fill out a public records request, it feels like you're digging for something wrong, like you're digging for a fight. Mm-hmm. My worst story, though, we had a very large bid for a piece of software. It was like an assessment platform or something. And just so happened to be that maybe like 2 weeks later, I was at an event down in New York City, and my flight got canceled home. And another vendor was who was at the same event, and he was having to go to Boston as well. So we both rented a car. We get in the car. It's about a 4-hour drive from New York. And then I realized, well, you were a losing bid on that RFP we just did. And I had 4 hours in the middle of the night to drive home with this guy.
I think this deserves the unpacking. You rented a car with a random person at the airport?
No, we were both at the same event. And we were both in the same position of, we don't have a way to get home. Yeah. So we're like, oh, let's just rent a car together.
Josh is saying he would still go solo.
Did you know this person?
Why were you in the car,
event?
Mark?
I didn't know. No, I didn't know this person. I just knew we were both at this event. And
no way in hell would I have done that. No.
Hold on. Whose idea was it? Was it your idea or his idea?
I don't recall.
It was mutually. You guys both had the idea at the same time.
Yeah, we're both like, hey, we're both going back to Boston. Let's just rent a car together. I didn't want to drive. So I'm like, great.
Chris,
you want to rent the car? I'll just
That's insane.
hop in your passenger seat.
Chris, this is very similar to the conversation that I think we each had with our wives when we flew to Boston to meet Mark the first time. And I know I had this conversation with Annette, was like, how well do you really know Mark? Like, you're going,
and that was
to
us
this cabin,
kind of knowing Mark.
right? You know, like we had done this for months with Mark before we ended up
Let
in his
alone
cabin.
random vendor.
Yeah, random person in the airport that you saw for 6 minutes in an event the night before. Hey, let's rent a
Talking
car and
about
drive
top
4
risky
hours.
behavior.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
so I may have misspoken. It was not, I forgot. It was not an airplane. We were on a train. The train got canceled. So we were in a sketchy train
You think
station.
your different mode of transportation changes
in the
how
middle,
this feels?
in the middle of the night. And then I get into a car with a stranger for like a 4-hour car ride. Like, I don't see what's wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I made a lifelong friend that night.
How many times have you rented a car with a stranger, Mark?
This week?
We're gonna unpack this more, but first, check out meter.com/K12 Tech Talk. If you're in IT and of course you have a network, and your network might be stitched together from many acquisitions from many different vendors, Mark knows them all. And no one's necessarily accountable when something breaks. Meter can give you a complete network, hardware, software, all the services with a predictable subscription, 24/7 support as well. So check out meter.com/K12 Tech Talk to book a demo.
You know, maybe that was the sales guy's genius move. Is he called in a bomb threat so the train couldn't take off, and he's like, "I'll get 4 hours with Mark in a car."
I've got to build this relationship.
Yeah.
First off, trains don't take off.
Yes, they start. They go.
Yeah, all right. Good point. So yeah, I mean, maybe that was it. He's like, this is my chance to find out why we lost the RFP. I'm gonna sabotage this train and make Mark tell me for 4 hours why we lost the bid.
I like it.
It worked. It totally
Mark,
worked.
I would have lost a bet if someone came to me and said, "Do you think Mark would have rented a car and driven for 4 hours with a stranger?"
That lost the bid.
No.
Did you know the bid? Oh no, you're already in the car.
Yeah.
You got in the car, then you put it all together.
We got in the car and then we're leaving New York City. I was like, this is going to be a long ride. So what company do you work for?
Yeah, I got it.
God, I'm sorry. Let's talk about this for a second.
I'm gobsmacked. That's
Going back to RFP. I respect the RFP process. I respect what comes after with the questions that come after with the rubrics and all the things. And I feel, obviously, I feel like when something has to go through an RFP, it makes hopefully those departments that are doing that be on their best game as far as decision making, where you've done it absolutely proper. You're not just looking at price. You're not just looking at prior relationship kind of stuff. So it's okay. Like, ask me whatever questions you want after, because there's going to be nothing that I'm trying to hide. Come at me, bring it. But I think the biggest thing is don't do the FOIA out of the gate.
Yeah.
Unless it's just some company practice and you're boxed into that. But
warn me, and I'm don't smack me with it.
And don't be talking to my teachers and my principals about this stuff you're trying to get in. Talk to me first.
Yeah.
Right?
And finally, Keith Kruger, our friend and colleague from the Consortium of School Networks from COSN, has announced this week that he will be stepping down in the spring of 2027. So probably likely on or near the next COSN conference. Keith Kruger has been the CEO of COSN since 1995. 32 years he will be the CEO. 1995 was obviously shortly before E-rate was passed, so you can imagine the amount of change that Keith has seen in his years, going from barely getting the internet into schools to all of a sudden getting Wi-Fi and SISs and devices, and now the AI era. So Keith has seen quite a lot and has shepherded quite a lot of change to schools, and we are eternally thankful and grateful for Keith's leadership at COSN. We were going to miss him.
Yeah, he was there to see the start of E-rate and maybe the end of E-rate. We'll see.
For me, Keith, we've gotten to meet just briefly a couple of times, and I would say cool guy, unique guy, and a guy that still knows what a K12 Tech is going through in the trenches. I always felt like he relates. even though he's being a part of the bigger picture, some of the lobbying things and the big picture stuff, he gets it.
For sure. I've seen Keith, like you said, in school districts, in the hallways of school districts, all the way to the hallways of the Capitol building, attending all the way to the hallways of the Capitol building, attending different meetings with senators and congressmen about some of the more important stuff that's going on, including, like you said, the changes in E-rate. So thank you to Keith.
All right. We got a listener email this week, a pretty interesting one about vibe coding, right?
Yeah. So Josh, you missed our conversation last week where we talked about vibe coding. We should start right there. Are you or have you experimented with vibe coding, and what is your take on vibe coding in your district?
I would not endorse that idea in my district. I would say the most that I've messed with it is asking, pick your favorite AI to help me write a PowerShell script to do some scripting with GAM or something like that. I'm not building complete applications with a web front end or dashboard or anything like that. I'm not on board with that yet because, my team we flat don't have the ability to support anything like that. So that would be my biggest hurdle. And obviously the privacy piece of that.
All right. So Chris, do you have the email from the listener?
Yeah, this is from a listener, Evan, who is a middle school assistant principal and activities director. So an administrator, he says he's been bullish about AI in education, but it is changing the game. It's changing the rules. About a year ago, he built an athletic and activities eligibility tracker for his own building. Since then, he's built several tools around problems that they're experiencing. And it's working. Like he's doing it. He's a principal activities director, vibe coding, making some stuff. But he says he agrees on the questions. Is it going to lead well? Who knows who built it? Who owns it? Did he build it? Did the school build it? What student or staff data gets touched as these things grow? Was it approved? How does it get approved? Who's going to maintain it? What happens if he leaves? So although he's all about it, he listened to our episode and said he now sees some of the other side of the coin concerns with it. But he's like, it's clearly changing the game. Like here's I think focusing on activities director. Here's a athletics guy, an activities guy making tools that he's probably used to paying for, or tools that he needs that he could have never have had before, that he's fixed it himself.
I think that conversation could become more valid as districts hit more of a money crunch. And like Chris, like you said, are they going to have an appetite to move away from paid product to a product that's been quote unquote developed in house? I still think there's a lot of risk there from a support standpoint. If it decides to roll over and puke one day, how much troubleshooting skills do you have to try and figure out where in your stack that the issue is coming from? That's the big, and especially if people are relying on it. Like you would assume with eligibility and an eligibility tool like that, they're relying on that pretty heavily. I'm sure it's ingesting grades and attendance and discipline, and you need that data. And if it decides to go belly up tomorrow, who's troubleshooting that?
Yeah, I think you have the same risk of any sort of homegrown application. There's a little bit more in some areas when you've got somebody who's built a tool or built an application that they may or may not be familiar with the back end of how it works. And so you've got operational risk. Should this application stop working, everybody depends on it. You've got data risk, and you've got the risk of public exposure. So for me, it's less about vibe coding and more about inexperienced application owners and application developers suddenly getting into the world of data collection and data dissemination. That's where I get a little bit more nervous than anything.
Well, we literally had a similar problem in Missouri. One of the main athletic director applications ran in an Access database that was developed by a guy, I swear, out of his basement. And when he decided to retire, he was the only guy that supported it. And I had even told our athletic director, I'm like, man, what happens if this guy gets hit by a bus? Like, you're up a creek. And sure enough, he says, I'm retiring. You guys all got to move to a different application. And it was like a mad scramble trying to figure out where they were going to go because this one guy was retiring. So, I mean, that can happen with legitimate applications as well.
We had a homegrown special education system for many, many years, and I had very little support on it. 2 or 3 people in the district that could maintain that application, and very, very sad and difficult situation. One of my lead developers was out for a walk in the middle of the day and was hit by a car, and he was okay, but it was a very serious issue, and he was out of the office for the rest of his career. And we all of a sudden found ourselves without the lead support for an application that only one person in the world knew how it was built. So it was, that's a huge level of risk that a lot of us have gone through over the last few years, or in the recent decades. Excuse me, a lot of us have gone through that risk with homegrown applications, and now it feels like we're kind of coming full circle now with vibe coding, bringing that back to districts.
I can remember the years ago, previous district was very old school with how a requisition was turned into a purchase order, and it was paper trail. Well, we had a tech savvy middle school principal that was really good with Excel, and he made Excel spreadsheets that were requisitions that could change into POs. And that was cool and great and didn't impact on the district. Well, then he got better with his Excel skills, and he started to make those things pretty complicated so that you couldn't mess up when you were typing into particular fields and stuff. And again, it was that same thing. There were some questions around, well, what happens when he leaves? Like, we're using this thing district-wide, but we're banking on our middle school principal to do those updates. Vibe coding is that times 1,000 or more than 1,000. Because the person's just going to be ingrained with that. And again, like, are you going to approve it? So you got the middle school assistant principal doing it, but what if it's struggling? So is tech department going to work with the middle school assistant principal to provide support to whatever that thing is? And then what does happen when he leaves? I mean, that's a great question too. I have a follow-up question too, but first, Howard, check out howardcomputers.com. They partner with K12 schools across the country. They help tech leaders maximize their budgets. They find solutions from devices to cybersecurity to networking, classroom tech, physical security, and more. Check out howardcomputers.com. He had a question in here, and I want to get this answered. What say you guys? Who owns what's been built? Is it the person that built it? Do you think it's the schools? Who owns it?
It's the schools. That's been settled in case law.
Yeah, anytime you're building something on behalf of a school district, it does need to be owned by the school district. We've dealt with that with curriculum built by teachers as well. Doesn't mean the school district wants ownership of it, but if you are employed by a school district and building something for them, that is the property of the district.
And that's probably the biggest thing. Like, I've talked about, I had that teacher that came in, he had started to build something. He was completely taken aback when we were calling timeout, like, bro, this is not yours. Because he had it on his personal laptop and all that crazy stuff, whatever. Like, pump the brakes
well,
and get this thing figured out.
One of the reasons why I have such an issue with teachers pay teachers, because it's, teachers are developing lesson plans, whatnot, and then turning around and selling them and making money on them. And it's really, technically, is likely a district-owned product.
I would like for Josh to be like, have a flight canceled and then find himself in a rental car with like the owner of Teachers Pay Teachers. I think that would be the funniest car ride. Yeah. Just 4 hours of Josh and Teachers Pay Teachers.
Do you think it gets, or it's like 4 miles because the Teachers Pay Teachers guy pulls over?
Yeah, just get out.
He was probably driving, but he gets out of the car.
That's the question. Back. Does Josh get out of the car first, or does he get kicked out of the car by Teachers Pay Teachers?
I'm not getting out of the car. One, I'm probably not even getting in the car, but
with his still with his finger pointing at the car. And another thing,
why does Teachers Pay Teachers need full drive access?
I love how you had the thing ready. You were just ready to talk about it.
Well, it's because we've had 15 tickets about it this week.
I love it. Anyway, thank you, listener Evan. These are great questions that I think every district's going to have to start answering.
All right. And to the big topic, it's that time of year. Chris and I are neck deep in back to school stuff. Like Chris said, teachers showing up early before the wax is dry. One of the struggles that we have every year are, musical rooms, teachers moving rooms. And I understand it. It's part of the process. Somebody might even move grade levels. It's sometimes just moving neighbors. But in that process, you're talking a desktop computer, you're talking a phone. Hopefully you're not moving a smart board. Over the last couple of years, we when I got to my district, the PCs were named with the part of the teacher's last name. That was one of the first things I changed. No, we're going to room numbers, and machines are no longer moving when teachers move classrooms. Well, now we added on to a building, and we moved an entire grade level from one building to another. So I'm going through the process of renumbering extensions in this building because they also had to renumber the building, the rooms in the building. So, pose a question to you, gentlemen. One, do you move phones when people move rooms, or does the room stay put? Is the extension number tied to the room number? Meaning, if I'm in room 203, is my extension 1203? Are you putting teachers' names on the display on the phone, or are you putting elementary room 203 for the display name on the phone, so that when teachers move rooms every year, you're not renaming the display name every year? Gentlemen?
The only thing, same thing, we used to name computers with rooms and all that kind of mess, and it was a cluster every time the stuff would get moved. The only thing we would name to that room was the items that were nailed to the walls that could not be lifted and could not be moved away. So phones were named after the building. Interactive panels were named after, phones were named after the room. Interactive panels were named after the room. Computers, PCs, those are more mobile. So we stopped naming them after the room itself. And then our district had teacher laptops. Teachers would take their laptop with them at all times. So we got out of the business of trying to have technology that would be lifted and moved from room to room. I will say the hardest part is getting to like a standard classroom package where every room looks the same and has the same technology, because that's why teachers want to move stuff around, because they move to a room that doesn't have an interactive panel. They move to a room that has a different projector or TV, and they want to bring it with them. So I would say the closer you can get to like a standard classroom package, the less of an issue it gets. But obviously don't name anything after the person who's occupying that room, because that's going to change.
Mark, point of clarification on the handset for the display of, instead of saying Sally Smith, was your display on your phone saying intermediate or whatever
number,
your building
office number?
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And then
that's
people would have people would just have a paper directory of, Mr. Smith is in room 201, that kind of thing. Yeah. But there's no need for us to name phones after rooms with that much change.
Well, and after that law passed, I was trying to tell my superintendent the name of the law, and I can't remember. I know it's a person's name where E911's. Yeah, thank you. E911 services need to be tied when a phone dials 911. It reports the room number, and also has a DID where they can call back in. That makes it even more important that those phones are not moving. Number one. Chris, what do you do?
Yeah, so we have laptops district-wide for the most part for our teachers. So a laptop just has a number with it, so it can move around. Now we have to pay attention if a teacher goes from one building to another. Those laptops are assigned to the building. So the teacher leaves her laptop at middle school because she's going to become a high school teacher kind of vibe. Everything stays in the room except for the stinking phone. I think we're in a similar thing with you, Josh, where we have the phone tied with a name. We could do resets, but it's less steps, and less time if we physically move the stupid phone.
Yeah.
So we kind of break our own rule, and we literally would evangelize, hey, you don't move your stuff. nothing's moving anymore. But it's like 10 steps to redo the phone versus, hey, we could just walk the stupid thing and move it around. So I like the idea of going to the room number. I think that would be a culture change thing again, because we're so used to it not being that. But and then our extensions are just random. There's no like rhyme reason on, why Mrs. Smith has 1163 as her number. Besides, each building, has its own extension list, but elementary's thousands, that kind of whatever. But there's no reason beyond the numbers that follow it. Phones are like our downfall. They literally break our tech rule. Even it's a bummer.
Yeah, renumbering or re-extensioning this building, my head was swimming this morning. Like, it's all I did this morning, and I had to walk away from it. Like, it was a mess. I
know we were kind of bantering about it at the beginning, like summer, everything gets pulled out, the waxing stuff is happening. We told the teacher to not move anything. We do a custodial meeting where we remind them the procedures and how they're going to pull stuff out. We at our district even have these little plastic boxes that the bulk of all the cabling goes into, and there's like a note on it that says tech department only, don't touch. In theory, you're just going to walk into the room, unplug the stuff from the wall. It's with that box. It goes on the teacher desk, and you get it out in the hall. It goes right back. But man, every year, there's video splitters missing. There's cables gone. It's always like that. And it's always been like that, whether we were properly organized with our stuff or not. We're already getting tickets. Teachers are back early and getting tickets with cables missing and things not working. When everyone knew that they weren't supposed to move anything. It is what it is.
I got to correct something I said. Josh, you asked what the law was that requires it to be a dispatchable location. There were two telecom laws passed around the same time. One of them was Kerry's Law, and the other one is Ray-Baum's Act. The one that you're referring to, where you need to have a dispatchable location on the DID, that's Ray-Baum's Act. Kerry's Law was named after a woman named Carrie Hunt, who was murdered by an estranged husband because her daughter tried to call 911 and could not get through, did not know that the hotel that they were in had a dial 9 to get to an outside line. So Kerry's Act requires 911 to go direct to the outside when called.
Yeah, and you get those people that dial 9 and then 1 for long distance, and they hit 1 twice and call 911 and hang up. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of fun.
Hey, Josh, speaking of fun, you're excited for your teachers to be back, right?
Yeah, secretaries came back today. It was great.
I feel good about all this. I think we fixed it all.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed this, share it with your friends. If you've got a question about vibe coding or anything else we've talked about, shoot us an email. Chris, what's that email?
That email is info@K12TechPodcast.com. And also, we love our other sponsors. We have a couple more. ManagedMethods. Check out ManagedMethods.com. They give easy, affordable cybersecurity and student safety monitoring for tech leaders who need secure online learning on a tight budget. Our friends over at NTP, email David D. Wren at ntp-inc.com. Lightspeed Systems. We're going to do an interview with them coming up to talk about screen time and AI stuff some more. And then Fortinet podcast at Fortinet.com.
We will see you next week. We might not be the same. You share the same pain that I do.
The views and opinions expressed on the K12 Tech Talk podcast are the personal opinions of Josh, Chris, and Mark, and do not represent the views or opinions of our sponsors or other organizations that we're affiliated with. The material and information presented here is for general information and entertainment purposes only. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. We were buying words about the phrase of the and selling songs just to